My name is Anna. I'm a cook, and I've always taken it seriously. Not just as a job, but as a form of self-care. I've always believed that food cooked the right way changes a person's day, changes their body, even how they feel inside. And even in the rush, even when tired, I never lost sight of doing things attentively, doing them right. Because for me, it's not just a pretty dish, it's real sustenance. It's what keeps someone going. And at the same time, I've always had my faith, even without showing it much, even without telling anyone. I've always prayed, always asked for guidance, especially on the toughest days, when everything seemed out of place. Lately, I've been feeling restless because of a lack of food, not because of prices. It was something else. It was a strange feeling, as if what we're used to eating today isn't enough, as if something is fundamentally wrong. And this started to grow inside me, because you look around and everything seems normal, but at the same time, all anyone talks about is tension, conflict, things changing too fast. And I started thinking about this in the kitchen, looking at the food, thinking about quality, thinking about what truly sustains and what only deceives the body. After a very long day, I arrived home exhausted in a way that only those who work in this field understand. I did what I always do. I sat in silence and prayed without rushing, without asking for much, just asking for guidance because that feeling wouldn't leave me. And that's where it began. It wasn't exaggerated, it wasn't confusing, it was too clear. I started seeing houses, people trying to make do with what they had, opening cupboards, looking at food there, but without strength, without energy. It seemed like they were eating, but it wasn't sustaining them. And that gave me a pang at that moment because it wasn't a total lack. It was a lack of what truly keeps the body strong. And this became very clear to me. Some people will realize it late, not because they didn't have food, but because they didn't know how to choose what truly sustains them. And at that very moment, food started coming to my mind, one by one. Simple combinations. Things I already knew from cooking. Old things. And the most powerful thing was realizing that I had seen it before. Not in a cookbook, not in a recipe book, but in the Bible. Things that have always been there, but that we stopped paying attention to. This hit me very hard. Write it down, because this will make a difference when times get tough. It's not about luxury, it's not about expensive dishes. It's about knowing how to use what's right at the right time. And this hit me very hard, because I remembered so many people saying that today everything is contaminated, full of junk, that the body is weak, that people are sick, and at the same time ignoring the simple things, ignoring the natural, ignoring what has always worked. And I understood that this wasn't just for me, it was meant to be passed on. It took me a while to say this. I thought about it a lot because I know how people judge. I know how the internet is, but what I saw was too powerful to keep to myself. So I wrote everything down one by one with the passage and its meaning, and today I'm going to show you 15 of these meals. Pay attention because this isn't just about food. This can make a real difference in your home, in your family, and many people will only understand this when things are already too difficult. That night, after I started writing everything down, the first thing that came to mind was very clear. It wasn't an idea. It was as if I were seeing it, and at the same time, understanding. Before me came a simple scene, a pot, food being served, tired people, but remaining steadfast. And along with that, a passage began to come to my mind. I don't know how to explain it properly, though, but it was as if it was being shown to me. Genesis 25. Esau arrives exhausted from the field and trades his birthright for a bowl of red lentil stew. When that appeared, I understood immediately. It wasn't just about hunger. It was about the state of the body. In my vision, the tiredness was real. The people were weak. And it wasn't because they didn't have food. It was because what they ate wasn't sustaining them. And that stuck with me. Because today, this is already happening. We eat, but we're still tired. Eat, and your body asks for more. And that's when it became very clear to me. 1 cup of cooked lentils provides protein, iron, folate, magnesium, and potassium. At that moment, that didn't seem like information. It seemed like an answer, because this really sustains you, unlike much of what we see today. Today there is food everywhere, but much of it is empty, industrialized, quick, without foundation. And on the days when I saw, that made a difference. Another thing that became very clear was the preparation. It wasn't just any old way. Preparation matters. Soaked, slow cooked with herbs, and finished with olive oil. They were simple, but done with care. And that affected me, because today everything is rushed. Everything is fast. But when you accelerate too much, you lose what sustains you. And then this happened, as if it were being explained to me. The sauce breaks down anti-nutrients, and the herbs aid digestion, i.e., the body is able to use that. And today, there are people who eat but don't absorb the nutrients. Now pay attention to this, because that was very powerful in my vision. Lentils have a low glycemic index, releasing energy steadily. This became very clear. It wasn't fast energy, it was a force that remained. And that's when I truly understood. On difficult days, not just any food will sustain you. It's going to be the right type. Simple, but that's right. And it was already there. But almost no one pays attention. Keep this, because the next one, it caught my attention even more. After that was shown to me, the next thing came right after, without pause, as if it were connected, as if it were a direct continuation of the first. And again, it wasn't something I thought about. It was something shown to me, like a simple scene. Bread being broken, olive oil being poured over it, and people eating it calmly. Unlike what I had seen before, where there were tired people, there it seemed truly sustaining. And, along with that, another passage began to appear before me, as if it were being highlighted for me. I didn't need to search for it. I didn't need to remember. It came directly, as if it were being placed there for me to understand. John 6. Jesus feeds thousands of people with barley bread. When this was shown to me, I understood immediately that it wasn't just about multiplication. It wasn't just a miracle. It was about the type of food that sustained many people at the same time. And that caught my attention, because today we live surrounded by food. But even so, it seems like it's never enough. It seems like the body always asks for more. And in the vision that didn't happen there with that simple yet correct type of food, people remained steadfast. And this became very clear to me, as if it were being explained step by step. And then came the understanding along with the image, as if someone was showing me why it worked. Barley contains a fiber that helps control blood sugar and keep you feeling full for longer. And that didn't seem like theory. It seemed like an answer, because today, many people live in a state of peak energy. They go up quickly, go down quickly, and get tired again. And I saw that in that difficult time, this would make a difference. It wasn't just about eating. It was about what you chose to put on your plate and how it truly sustained your body. And something else was shown to me along with that. It wasn't just the bread alone. There was always something else with it, as if it completed it. And it became clear. The olive oil along with the bread. And that made a lot of sense, because I saw that it wasn't dry, worthless food. It was something complete, simple, but complete. And then it dawned on me. Again, olive oil helps the body absorb nutrients better and also reduces inflammation. And that struck me, because today, a lot of the things we use, we don't even know where they come from. We don't know what's in them. And there it was, direct, simple, without mixing, without excess. And I started to connect that with what we experience today, because today, almost everything is industrialized. Everything is fast. Everything is made to last on the shelf, but not to sustain the body. And this was shown to me clearly, that the problem isn't just having food. It's having real food, because on the days I saw this, I would have done everything. Whoever understood the simple truth would remain strong. Whoever ignored it would feel it in their body, and this wasn't said with fear. It was shown in a very direct way, like a warning. And that feeling became very strong in me again, just like the first time. It was already in the Bible and people don't realize it. No, it's a lack of access, not a lack of information. It's a lack of attention. And I came to understand that everything I was shown wasn't complicated. It wasn't anything out of this world. It was basic, just done the right way. And I wrote it all down because it made so much sense, especially thinking about what might come next and how unprepared people are without realizing it. After that was shown to me, the next scene was different. It was no longer something on a table inside the house. It was as if I was seeing a fire burning outdoors, something being prepared right there and people around waiting. And again, it didn't seem like something ordinary. It seemed necessary. It seemed like the kind of food that sustains you when you don't have many options. And along with that, another passage began to stand out before me, in the same way, clear, direct, as if it were being put there for me to understand effortlessly. John 21, Jesus prepares fish over the fire for the disciples. When this was shown to me, I felt something different because it wasn't just food, it was care. Someone was preparing something, supporting others, and that really struck me because I saw that in difficult times, it's not just about having food, it's about knowing how to prepare it the right way. And that was simple. Fish on the fire, herbs, nothing complicated, but at the same time, complete and sufficient. And that started to make a lot of sense to me. Next came the understanding, as if it were being explained along with the scene. Fish like sardines and others are rich in fats that the body needs to function properly, especially the brain and heart. And this caught my attention because today many people eat unhealthy fats and processed foods, and their bodies become heavy, sluggish, and inflamed. But there it was the opposite. It was something that strengthened from the inside out, and I saw that this would make a difference when the body was under stress. And another thing was shown to me very clearly. The way it was prepared wasn't fried, it wasn't full of oil, it wasn't breaded, it was cooked directly on the fire. Simple, preserving the good qualities of the food. And that really resonated with me, because today almost everything goes through a process. Everything loses its value, and that was the opposite. It was simple, and therefore it worked. And this became very clear as a pattern. Everything I was shown had this in common, simplicity done the right way, and I started to connect it with what I had seen before. People eating, but without strength. And here it was different. Whoever ate it remained strong. And that strong understanding came again. Not just any food will sustain you, it's the right kind. And that hit me hard. Very hard, because today we have access to everything. But at the same time, it seems like nothing completely solves anything. The body always asks for more. There's always something missing. And that confirmed, once again, what I had already understood. This was already in the Bible. It's always been there. It's nothing new. It's not something hidden. It's just been set aside over time. And I was writing everything down because it was being presented in a very subtle way, as preparation, as something that will make a difference when things get more serious, and whoever ignores it will feel it in their body before realizing the mistake. After that, what was presented to me changed again. It was no longer something prepared over a fire nor a heavy dish. It was something lighter, but at the same time very strong in its effect. And I realized this immediately because visually, the people who consumed it were not only nourished, they were well. Their bodies responded better. They seemed more resilient, and this caught my attention because it wasn't about quantity, it was about quality. And again, a passage was highlighted as if it were being placed in front of me for me to connect everything. A land flowing with milk and honey. This expression appears several times in the scriptures. When this appeared to me, I understood it differently. It wasn't just a pretty promise. It wasn't just a figure of speech. It was something real, something that truly held up, And then came the understanding along with the image. It wasn't just any milk. It wasn't like what we see today, full of processing, full of alterations. It was goat's milk, something lighter, easier on the body. And that made sense at the time, because many people today consume these products and get sick without understanding why. And along with that came another very clear part, as if it were being explained step by step. When this milk is fermented, it transforms into something alive, full of good bacteria that help the body from the inside. And that caught my attention, because today there are many people with intestinal problems, with low immunity, always tired, and that thing acted exactly on those, strengthening from the inside out. And I realized that this would make a difference on difficult days, because a weak body can't withstand pressure. Another thing that became very clear to me was the honey, but not just any honey, not the kind you see around, full of mixtures, real, raw, unprocessed honey with natural properties that help the body defend itself. And this struck me because today, many things seem natural, but they aren't, and what was there was straightforward, without deception. And when combined with milk, it formed something complete, simple, yet powerful. And I began to understand the pattern without needing it explained. Everything that was shown to me had this in common. It wasn't complicated, it wasn't expensive, it wasn't inaccessible. It was simple, but in the right way. And that hit me very hard, because today, people complicate everything. They buy ready-made things full of difficult names, but forget the basics. And in the days I saw this, it would make all the difference. Whoever had this would fare better, and whoever didn't would feel it quickly. And then something came along that made me pay even closer attention, like a warning. These next things that were being shown were even more important, not just good, but essential, and that became very clear, as if it were an alert. It's not just meals, it's the foundation. Then, pay attention to what comes next, because some of these combinations are more important than they seem, and many people ignore them precisely because they are simple. After that, what was shown to me changed again. It was no longer just about daily nutrition. It was something connected to a critical situation, and that became clear immediately, because in my view, it wasn't routine. It was urgent. It was people needing a quick solution, something to help their bodies react. And along with that came a simple but powerful scene, as if it were being applied directly to someone, and at the same time, a passage began to stand out to me. In the same way, directly, effortlessly, as if it were being placed there for me to understand. 2 Kings 20. King Hezekiah was ill, and a poultice of figs was used, and he recovered. When this was shown to me, I understood that it wasn't just ordinary food. It was something that also served as help in difficult times, and that caught my attention, because today, many people depend on medicine for everything, and forget that there are simple things that already worked before. And that wasn't theory. It was something that had already been used in a real and critical situation. Immediately afterwards came the understanding along with the image, as if it were being explained without difficult words. The figs have properties that help the body recover and also aid in healing. And that made sense at the time, because I saw that in the days I had seen before, it wouldn't just be tiredness. There would be people with weaker bodies, needing something to help them react. And that thing there fulfilled that role in a simple way. And it didn't stop there. Along with that, another combination was shown, as if to complete what I was seeing. Figs with almonds. And this became very clear, not as something separate, but as something that works together. And the understanding came directly. Almonds contain healthy fats and minerals and help maintain the body. And that caught my attention, because nowadays many people consume the wrong kind of fat, and the body feels it quickly, becoming heavy, inflamed, and lacking energy. In my view, those who consume this were not only nourished, they were more balanced, and that made a big difference in what I saw, because in difficult times, it's not just about surviving, it's about managing to stay well enough to continue, and that became clear as a pattern again. It wasn't excessive, it wasn't difficult, it was simple but purposeful. And that made me realize how much the basics have been neglected over time. And that sealed inside me once more as a firm understanding. It's been there forever, but almost no one uses it the right way. And that made me pay even more attention, because the next things that started to appear were even more direct, linked to what sustains the body when it's under greater stress. So pay attention to what comes next, because this goes beyond ordinary nutrition. After that, what was shown to me wasn't an isolated scene. It was as if everything began to fit together as a complete pattern. It wasn't just one meal, nor was it a sequence, something that could be used daily and that, at the same time, gradually prepared the body. And along with that came another passage being highlighted clearly, as if it were being placed there to close what I had already seen. Simple foods, always present throughout time, sustaining entire populations without depending on anything industrialized. When this was shown to me, I understood that it wasn't about something rare or difficult. It was about consistency, about using the basics every day in the right way. And the image that came to mind was of something simple being prepared regularly, a mixture that seemed common but made a continuous difference. And along with that came a direct understanding. Chickpeas with olive oil form a base that provides support without weighing the body down, keeping it stable over time. And that made a lot of sense, because today many people experience highs and lows. They eat something and soon after they're out of energy again. But that didn't happen there. It was different. It was stability, and it became clear to me that this, on difficult days, would be essential not only to survive, but to continue functioning well. And that changed the way I started to look at food, no longer as something, but as something that builds the body little by little. Another thing that was clearly shown to me was the pattern that repeated itself in everything. Nothing there was exaggerated, nothing was complicated. It was always simple, direct, natural. And that hit me hard, because today we live surrounded by artificial things, ready-made things, things that last but don't sustain. And I began to understand that the problem is not a lack of food, it's the type of food that is being used and how that will affect the body when it is truly challenged. And that became very clear as a final warning. It didn't come with fear, it came as direction. Who start adjusting this now, and you'll feel the difference before the tough days arrive. And that struck me because it wasn't something to do later. It was something to start now, little by little, within each person's reality, without exaggeration, without complication, just going back to basics the right way. And I understood why that was shown to me. I'm no different from anyone else. I just saw beforehand what many people will only realize later. So keep that in mind and start simple. You don't need everything at once, but start, because when the days change, your body will respond to what you built beforehand and not to what you try to do at the last minute. And before you leave here, I need to tell you something very honestly. It took me a while to tell you this. I kept wondering if I should really do it, if people would understand, or just judge. But after everything I was shown, I understood that it wasn't possible to keep it to myself. This isn't about me. It's about what can help someone. It's about what can make a difference within a home, within a family. Perhaps this seems simple to you, and it really is. But it's precisely the simple things that many people ignore. So take it easy. Don't try to do everything at once, but it begins. Adjust gradually. Pay more attention to what you put on your plate. Because when times get tougher, your body will respond to what you've built now. And if this made sense to you, if you felt there was something worthwhile here, share it in truth. It could be someone in your family, with someone you know needs to hear this. Because sometimes, something simple, at the right time. Everything changes. It is fine. And take care of what truly sustains you.